And welcome back to the Uncool Show. I am Dylan.
I'm Nathan.
And for episode 23 today, the Jordan number, the GOAT, we're talking about Peter Weir's The Truman Show, starring Jim Carrey. An absolute masterpiece. We were just talking about, this movie's incredible. I'm very excited to talk about it this week. Jim Carrey, one of Nathan and I's favorite actors, both comedically and non-comedically. Jim is just such a force. Why don't you talk a little bit about Jim, and then we'll get into this movie a bit.
Yeah, Jim is someone that's always been in our lives and someone that we've always followed and went back and watched all of his 90s comedies, some of his 2000s work, a lot of his dramatic stuff. I was thinking this morning, I've probably seen around 80% of Jim's whole career in terms of his film work. And like Dylan said, just such a force. And this movie, I'm not sure if this was his first foray into dramas, but it was either probably this, Man on the Moon, at the same time frame. This was 98.
The Truman Show was before Man on the Moon.
Yeah, so this was his first. Basically.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, this movie is a big step for Jim in his career. And Dylan and I were also talking before about his massive run that he had in the 90s leading into the 2000s.
Yes, that's
up until Eternal Sunshine.
Yeah, dude. That's why I pulled up his filmography really quick, because I just wanted to talk about it. From 94, starting with 94 with Ace Ventura, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, Batman Forever, Ace Ventura 2, The Cable Guy, which Nathan and I are very...
It'll be potted.
We'll definitely talk about The Cable Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Liar Liar, The Truman Show, Simon Birch, Man on the Moon, Me, Myself, and Irene, The Grinch, The Majestic, Bruce Almighty, Eternal Sunshine.
Easy. What's directly after that?
A Series of Unfortunate Events, Fun with Dick and Jane, The Number 23, Yes Man, I Love You, Philip Morris, and then he starts getting into like Mr. Popper's Penguins and Burt Wonderstone and Kick-Ass 2, stuff like that.
Some bad choices.
Yeah.
But
run from 90, like you said, 94 to 04?
Well, even past,
that's crazy.
Just thinking about it, even past 04, there's still quality work.
Yeah.
Up until like Yes Man and like, it's absolutely insane thinking about how much success he had for those like 15 plus years.
Yeah. I mean, Jim, he is just wholly himself as a performer. He's like in that Robin Williams type of class in terms of just being wholly unique and not apologizing for any parts of his performance or any part. Like, he's just a very enigmatic performer. And I know that has made him difficult to work with on some sets, like Man on the Moon especially. Mm-hmm. But The Truman Show is just such an accomplishment, not just as a performance. We'll talk about his performance as Truman Burbank, but Peter Weir as a director. I think this is my favorite
mine too.
Weir movie that I've seen, and I haven't seen every single thing he's made. I'm really into Master and Commander. That was probably the second one I ever saw that he made, actually. But Nathan and I were just talking about how well plotted and well shot and well paced this movie is. I think it's 90.
I did the math when I watched it. I stopped it right after the film ended. 96 minutes.
Man, that's crazy.
Without credits.
Yeah.
So that's
incredible achievement.
Incredibly efficient.
Like you said, with Jim going into drama for the first time, I mean, he completely knocked it out of the park. I would imagine, we were a little too young to know what the press was saying at the time, but I would imagine people were very put off at first and very, why don't you just stick to broad comedy? And he just, comes in as Truman, and he is funny. I mean, Truman's funny in this movie, but there's so much layering and so much depth to that character, and it really gives him a perfect opportunity to show a little bit of the darkness. Why don't you talk a little bit about the plot of The Truman Show and the setup of The Truman Show as we start the movie?
So coming at this I'm going to talk like someone who is just watching the movie for the first time. You start with these interviews in the beginning of the movie where they're introducing the show itself, and these like testimonials from Noah Emmerich and Laura Linney.
Yep.
And Christoph, I believe, has one of his own little sections, and they're talking about the Truman Show and why is it so important to them and what they pour into their work. And eventually we find out that, oh, this is an artificial world created around Truman Burbank, Jim Carrey's character. And everyone plays their little role, whether big, like Laura Linney playing his wife Meryl, or to the small person who sells like newspapers and magazines.
Yep.
You know? And there's extras all around the world that are paid to be there to service Truman and service the world.
Yep.
Well, I shouldn't even say service Truman. It's to service the show.
Yep.
To make the show more believable in Truman's eyes.
Yep.
To make it feel like a
like it really like
or an organic world when it's incredibly artificial.
Inorganic and completely set up and manufactured. Every interaction, every friendship.
His parents aren't his real parents.
Yep.
And they were paid actors.
His
wife, his best friend.
Yeah.
So literally everything around Truman is fake.
Yep.
And he doesn't know it.
Nope.
But obviously this movie is about him discovering subtleties and not so subtle things that are popping up.
Yep.
And this is a man who's in his mid-30s.
Yeah.
And his whole life has been
on this island.
True bubble. It's
on
like,
this island.
In the movie they show, this is like a huge set, like a dome built right behind the Hollywood sign in California. It's like they say it's the biggest set in the world.
Yep.
And it truly is. There's a lot of water. There's a whole town. It's like they basically wanted to be like Martha's Vineyard feeling, like this idyllic,
where anybody would be very fortunate to even spend a day there, let alone grow up there. Mm-hmm. And that's usually what the script of every character is telling Truman. Why would you want to leave here? This is Noah Emmerich as his friend. Noah Emmerich is really good in this movie. Like, why would you ever want to leave here? We have everything we need here. We got our 6-pack of beer. We're hitting golf balls. We're good. But no, like you said, that everything is a complete illusion, and that right away as like an audience member, it's a great way to make you feel for Truman immediately, even before he knows the nature of his reality. And right away you kind of want justice for him, because if you're really thinking about just how, with the proliferation of reality television over the last couple of decades, this is like the ultimate form of that.
Yes.
And the ultimate form of not caring about, another human being. Essentially, it says there was an audition process, and there was a lot of couples that didn't want their
pregnancies.
Unwanted pregnancies, and that's where Truman came into play, and that's where Ed Harris's
it's like his father / God figure
starts.
Who controls the show.
He's the producer, the director.
He's in the control room when telling the cameraman when to push in, like what sound effects they're using, the score that's being played on the piano.
Yep, for sure.
And he literally controls. He's the author of Truman's life.
Yep. His job, everything.
Right. And Christoph has this massive God complex. And so that's like basically from the outset
the dilemma.
That's the dilemma. That's the basic plot of the movie.
Yep.
And Truman goes on this journey of his own self-discovery and discovery and he's noticing little things about what's happening around him that opens his eyes, truly.
Little idiosyncrasies that don't line up with even the reality he's known, his whole life. Mm-hmm. Like you said, his parents aren't his real parents. Through a series of flashbacks within the show, you find out that they killed off his father, and that has traumatized him. And they did it in a water-based accident to keep him on this island.
Yeah. To
try to purposely traumatize a child to keep this child from wanting to explore, which is crazy. But you also have a very real sense of Laura Linney just not caring about him at all, and that being a very real driving force throughout the movie. She's selling ads throughout the movie. She'll come home and she'll perfectly place a new item in front of Truman and go on the sales pitch. She's a very interesting character, very interesting performance in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I've always really enjoyed her as an actress, but because of this movie, I've never trusted any character she plays. And she usually ends up playing somebody who is playing both sides, you know, which is interesting.
Manipulative in this movie.
Yeah,
and
she is.
She's paid to be.
Yep.
She has to
That's
be.
her whole job.
And you get the sense from her, like there's a, towards the end of her art, she's like, this is unprofessional, after Truman is like berating her.
Nobody could work in these conditions.
Becoming more paranoid.
Yeah.
And it's affecting her mentally. But you get the sense in her, like her first interview of the first like minute of the movie, she's like, she considers herself a professional actress.
Very self-important.
Method.
Yep.
You know, whatever. And, like you said, very self-important, as are a lot of the figures behind Truman's life.
For sure.
And, you know, you get the sense that this work is a little below her, but she's going to put everything she can into it. And obviously no one really cares truly how Truman feels. They're just there to make the show more interesting,
to commodify his moments.
and push him through arcs. You know, Meryl makes reference to them trying for a baby and keeping him more landlocked than he already has been. And, you know, this is something we'll get into more, but she was kind of forced into his life when he was a teenager. When he was going to high school or college or wherever they're at.
They're either at high school or college in that flashback, but yet there are very brief fleeting moments where Truman has a slight moment where he could exercise free will. And when he is in those moments, he's usually drawn to this character. I don't remember her name.
Her name's Sylvia in the movie.
Yeah, that's the name of the actress.
What's really interesting in the movie, there's a scene where Truman, well, there's a couple of sequences leading up to this scene, but Truman is studying for finals, and Meryl, Laura Linney's character, and I'm already forgetting Noah Emmerich's character's name, but they leave him to study, and she's sitting directly across from him in the library, and he's like, "Oh, hi, Lauren," and she's like, "Oh, right, yeah, my name is," like, because that's not her actual name.
Yeah.
Her real name is Sylvia, and she has to play up this role, but you can see that she's very hesitant to play a part in this fantasy that is Truman's life.
Yes.
And you get the sense that she kind of like wanted to come into the show as an actress, or she was an actress of the show that became really guilty.
Well, she's a background actress. She's not meant to have any lines.
She's not meant to have any arc with Truman.
Nope.
Not to even interact with him.
She's just meant to be flavor for the world. He sees her at this high school or college, and he's immediately drawn to her. She makes eye contact with him. She's immediately drawn to him. But she knows that she can't make a move. It's at that very moment where, like you said, Laura Linney is kind of like pushed into frame, and she's very clumsily all over him, and making it clear that she's interested in him, even though she doesn't know him at all. And that seed becomes his whole life. They do have that moment in that library, which is a great scene.
Right.
I think that is. Well, it is. His relationship with Sylvia and him meeting Sylvia is the impetus for every seed of a thought that this world might not be real. He meets her at the library, starts flirting with her. She tells him very plainly, "I'm not supposed to be talking to you. You can't be here." But he's not picking up any of that. And they sneak away. They go to a beach. They have a romantic moment. And, the stereotypical men in the suits pop up, and one of them pretending to be her dad.
And she's like, "They're coming for me." Well, she tells him in the library, she's like, "We have to go right now.
Or it won't happen."
And they go to the beach, like you said, have this moment. But she's like, "They're going to be here any second." Like, and they kiss, and she's like, "Oh, here they are. Like, they found us."
She starts telling him, "Nothing's real. It's all built for you. This is a set." But, like, you would think at that point that maybe Truman has never seen a TV show. Maybe, like, it doesn't seem like there's
nothing like reality TV.
Yes.
He's stuck, like, there's a scene later on in the movie where he's sitting down and Laura Linney leaves to go meet with his mom, and she's like, "Oh, watch your favorite show." And it's like Lucy, the Lucy Show, or like, it's like this 50s era of television
that they've kept him stuck in.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Same thing with the idyllic town, so he has no relationship to modern media in the 90s, with the birth of reality TV.
Yep. She is getting taken away by her dad, who tells Truman that she's schizophrenic. She always has these breaks. She always takes her boyfriends down here. Don't worry about it. We're moving to Fiji, which is probably like the show code word for, like, we got to get this actress gone.
It is for her.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
and he's like, Fiji. And that's like that flashback that we see pretty early on in the movie. We get a good glimpse of his routine and his life, and then we get this flashback sequence that really starts to sink into the plot. You know, from that point on, you see him building that fake portrait of her through magazine clippings, and he is dead set on getting to Fiji. He is telling everybody in his life, I'm taking a trip to Fiji. I want to do it now. I want to do it now. There's something that, you know, he really feels it's time. But then the world around him, the world curated for him, keeps making that impossible, whether it be wildfires or bus breakdowns or boating issues or weather.
He goes to the travel agency, and the lady at the computer, obviously, she's just an actress. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's like, oh, there's nothing for a month. And he's like, a month?
A month?
She's like, it's busy season or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, the bus driver is an actor. He can't drive the bus.
So he just purposely destroys it by like grinding the gears.
And so like everything, and there are like brilliant moments of choreography when Truman is going around the town, and obviously Peter Weir and the other filmmakers are placing these people like Christoph would in the maker of the show to like stop Truman from going to this building or stop him from chasing
this character,
like this bus where mysteriously his dad pops up and he's trying to find him, and people like a guy on a bike purposefully goes in front of Truman to stop him,
and then a whole team of joggers will get in, you know,
and that just builds into Truman's like
paranoia.
Why can I not get to where I want to without there being some sort of intervention or some sort of blockade in front of me? These
two elderly twin brothers that are buying insurance from him, but never actually want to buy it. They always tell him, next week. But they're always right there.
They always push it. I noticed this time, they always push him
right
against the wall into the product placement sign.
Yep.
And so they serve a specific purpose, like Laura Linney's character. They're product placement people.
Yep.
Like they're in the show to keep up with Truman, but they're really trying to obviously add to the bottom line of the show.
And again, there's so much to notice on rewatches of this movie. I've probably seen this movie well over 10, 15 times, but every time you watch it, you see little things in the background, and you see little behaviors and cues from. It's such a well thought out and well-structured world that both Peter Weir as a director and Christoph as Peter Weir's, weird
surrogate,
like Geppetto and Pinocchio. It really is such a interesting watch. He goes into that office building in which, he tries to go through an elevator, and there's just no elevator there. It's just craft services and
craft service table.
People eating. And
a guy with a mic on, and then they literally push like a side of the wall back into frame to like shield him, and then security guards push him out.
And like, we're doing construction in here, blah, blah, blah. There's always a conspiracy theory of sorts to keep Truman in his routine of work, go home, hang out with your wife, talk about Fiji, have that be shot down, and have those beers with your buddy, Lewis.
Okay.
Have beers with Lewis on the pier every night, And that's what he does. That's what his routine is. But yeah, after getting the impetus to want to go to Fiji, after seeing the same actor who played his father, maybe mistakenly being recast.
He forced himself back onto set.
Okay.
I think, and I think Christoph later uses that to their advantage to keep Truman landlocked again.
Yep.
When Lewis has that fake heart to heart, saying like, "I found your father," and that's like such dramatic moment where all the fog is lifted up, and the music is really emotional, and they're further manipulating Truman. And
well, I mean, Lewis is also, he's like, I've been your best friend since we were kids. He starts bringing up all these childhood memories. He's like, you think all that was fake? You think so that means I would have to be on it too. I would never do that to you. It's the ultimate moment of betrayal and manipulation. Because at that point, you're like, oh, at least this guy's nice to Truman. Like, it's not really real, but at least there's something there, and there's not.
Well, because in that sequence, Christoph is feeding Lewis lines.
Yep, he's always feeding him lines through an earpiece.
these very melodramatic.
Saccharine,
I will step in traffic for you, Truman.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
like you said, that's a great line.
You're a
He's like,
brother to me.
if this is all fake, then I'd have to be in on it.
Yep.
And he's like, you're really gonna say that to me?
Yeah.
And it's so
heartbreaking.
terrible.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
And Lewis is one of the people that Truman actually does trust in the midst of all this chaos and paranoia.
He's the one who he goes to Lewis like, I'm onto something, man. Like, I'm seeing all this stuff. People are treating me different. Something's off here. You know, he's the only person in Truman's whole world that he trusts, which is very heartbreaking. And again, Noah Emmerich is really good in this. This is probably the first time I saw him in anything.
Me too. Great character actor.
You know, is he in Independence Day? As like a general.
Yes.
So it's probably I probably saw him in that first, but he's great in this. And
I think the first time I saw him was Super 8. Might have been Super 8.
Oh, he's great in that.
He plays another like general figure.
He's always playing a general.
He's like a military man, a cop, a lawyer, like whatever.
Yeah,
no
for sure.
Has that face.
He does have that.
Anyways,
but he's great in this movie, and that performance is really touching. I think he's, other than Truman, I think he's probably the and Ed Harris. I think he's probably my third favorite performance in this movie. I think he's just really manipulative and really touching and really like heartbreaking once you know the context of everything. As Laura Linney continues to sell products and shoot down his ideas and keep him in the basement, and we're not going to Fiji, we're having a baby, blah blah, you know, these things that clearly he's not ready for, but the show is telling her that he's ready for. She has that scene which has become a meme. I see it on Instagram you know, where she's like, and I got this cocoa, you know, from this Peruvian cocoa, blah 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 blah. And you know, and Carrey has who are you talking to?
Who are you talking to?
Who are you selling to? You know,
he
just
goes, what the hell does this have to do with anything?
With anything. Who are you talking to? And she gets this crazy look in her eyes and just walks away because like that's her line. She has to keep it moving.
And that moment comes after this like wild tirade of Truman's when Truman is sitting in his car waiting for Meryl to get back home, and he's like, I'm gonna tell you, like, watch this, like I noticed this. Yep. There's gonna be a girl on a bike, a guy walking by with flowers, and a dental Volkswagen Beetle,
a yellow one. Yep.
And bang bang bang,
and he's
like, he freaks out, and he's like, oh, it's all there, like I
told you.
And he's like you need to believe me, like this is all a big charade
for us.
And then
he probably thinks that she doesn't know about it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
You're my wife. You know, there's like something off about our whole lives.
And that moment later on when they're in the kitchen and she does that ad, he's like, he starts to get really suspicious of her and goes like, what are you talking about? Who are you talking to? Like, what is this?
And that's when he stands up and he starts to get in her space because he's starting to lose it, you know,
as would anybody.
Yeah. And you know, that's when she's like, somebody come in here, and she says
somebody help me.
He's like,
help me.
And he's like, who are you talking to? Again, who are you talking to? And she's like, nobody. You know?
Right. And then she asks for help, and Noah Emmerich's character comes, like, barges in.
Just shows up out of nowhere
with his 6-pack of beer.
Yep.
And she's crying, she's hysterical, and she goes to him, and that's when she says it's unprofessional. Like,
nobody can work
in these conditions.
Yeah.
And expect to be like, because she was safe for a long time when Truman was still living the lie. But once he started giving into his rightful paranoia, like that's when their relationship starts to deteriorate.
Yep.
And she does feel like, I can't be around living with someone who is going through like a mental breakdown.
Yeah. Even though it's of largely her, she's a big part of that mental breakdown.
Absolutely.
You know, their relationship is not that they don't have one. Everything is super hollow and shallow and very weird and off-putting. You
get the sense from like there was this great sequence when he's I think it's the first time we see Meryl interact with Truman, and he's like gardening, he's doing flowers, and she comes home and she does this little ad
with a potato peeler,
and cutter and whatever.
You never have to, and it's dishwasher safe.
Yeah. And then he's like, okay, and he's tired of her, and she says he missed a spot, and then he looks back and he goes like, jeez. He says something to himself, and you're like, oh, like they're not happy.
No.
He's not happy.
No.
And she's like this uppity like 50s housewife. That's like her role.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm sick and tired of you.
I'm
Like,
done with that.
Well, like we touched on earlier, like he's truly in love with the Sylvia character.
Yep.
And he's like still holding on to
Obsessed.
that.
He's obsessed. I mean, he's
he's
reproducing
obsessed.
her with like a magazine. He'll like be at his office and he'll be thumbing through magazines, and if he sees cheeks that remind him of Sylvia, he'll rip those out. If he sees eyes, he'll rip those out and bring them home to a basement and recreate Sylvia, which is, it sounds creepy the way I say
More
it.
sad. It's really sad.
It's presented in a very sad, because you come to find out that Sylvia was the only person in his whole life that was being honest with him.
And was trying to look out for him.
And was trying to look out for him. So, intuitively, he probably just has never felt that from anybody before. And like that would, I mean, you would become instantly connected, and instantly you would want to do anything to get out and find that person again. And in his mind, her and her family moved to Fiji, so that's why he's going to Fiji. And again, it's a very interesting dynamic, because you see her a few times throughout the movie. She calls into the show. She berates Christoph for taking away his free will. You see things in her apartment that she's hosting like free Truman rallies.
Rallies, and she's protesting.
She's an activist for Truman. It's not just that she loves him. She really cares. It's a beautiful little performance from her. She's only in it for maybe,
I want to say like 10 minutes.
Maybe 10. And I don't, let me pull up the name of you.
Natasha McAlone?
Yep.
I think that's how you pronounce her last name.
And I don't know if I've seen her in much else, to be honest with you, but
very little.
She's really great in this, as is everybody. Paul Giamatti too. We haven't really touched on him, but I do. You get some early Giamatti, and
he's a beast.
Picture Paul Giamatti. Oh, but Paul Giamatti's always good to see, and he has a fun role. He's like Christoph's second in
command in the control room,
and he has a lot to do in the third act, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of that third act, we'll get to that. I guess because this movie does really move. It's hard to really go on too long about Truman Show, because this movie is moving at a really cool pace. I think watching it this morning, that's really what I was stricken by.
Me too.
It moves, but you don't feel like there's any wasted opportunity or wasted character moment. Everything is just perfectly put where it should be. I really do think this is a masterpiece.
And we didn't even touch on this. So going back to the whole, like the start of the paranoia, not to like reverse track,
no, yeah, please do.
Because this obviously lends itself to what we're talking about in the third act. Like, so Truman, in this reality TV world that he lives in this like 50s idyllic setting, in the very beginning of the movie, he walks out of the door and there's this like crazy shot where he's like perfectly centered, and it's like, how did they get this? And he sees the neighbors across the street, and how are you doing? Like, good morning. He's like, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, good night. And that's like his catchphrase.
Yep.
And he does this little head dip and like smiles, and it's something you'd see like in like I Love Lucy or something, in like one of those old shows where it's like shticky and like really fake and put on, but that's just what he's used to and what he's doing. And then he walks down, sees another neighbor with his dog, and he's ready to go about his routine, but then this light fixture just careens down from the sky and falls, shatters.
Right. Yep.
And,
a star.
And right, and they say like on the radio, which they also control, like a plane or a helicopter, whatever they say, like a piece fell down, and that's what you saw, Truman.
Yep.
And that paranoia keeps building and building and building and building, and lends to Truman feeling unsafe and mentally ill.
Yep.
And feeling manipulated by everybody, and it eventually leads itself to, we mentioned this earlier, kind of going into the third act, Noah Emmerich has this huge heart-to-heart emotional moment with Truman, and then he says, I found your dad, Truman. Like, he's back. Like, he's back from the dead, basically. And Truman hugs his dad and embraces him. And we can cut back to the control room to Christoph, who is controlling every little bit of production.
The lighting, the fog, the angle of the shot, the music, like yeah.
And you get the sense that, because that was like that's a big moment, like cut to Kristoff feeding his lines to Emmerich, and he's like this Hollywood hack who has this massive god complex.
Yep.
And and like rightfully so. I mean, he's in this position where he controls the most popular show on the planet.
Yep.
He's literally the author of this guy's life. So he's God to Truman.
Yeah,
like,
he is.
He controls every bit, like pulls every lever, and it's really sad, that cut. And the rest of the third act is really Kristoff's movie in a way. It really transitions because we already know how Truman feels and how paranoid he is the first 2 acts.
Yep.
And so we know where his headspace is. But then,
But it's almost like the dad moment, like, completely reinforces that none of this is real for Truman.
And
he hugs this guy and he cries, but like...
It's really creative.
It's almost like, okay, there's no way that's real.
Yeah,
even Truman...
We don't get... Well, obviously we don't get
see
Truman's inner monologue. Like,
nope.
And obviously what leads on to the third act, that is, like you said, a moment where Truman's like, okay, like, this is too good to be true.
Yep. They're playing because from that point they really, like you said, they go to the control room, and I don't remember exactly how it gets there, but like, how do we get to the point in which Kristoff has that interview where he's like, we're gonna, Meryl is gonna be leaving Truman, and we're gonna be introducing a new love interest.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, Truman goes to work. He meets this new love interest. You don't see Meryl leave Truman. That's just talked. It's just talked about. Mm-hmm. He meets this beautiful new woman at the office who's clearly controlled, and she's acting very interested in him. He goes home. He goes straight to the basement, and he starts this plot of his. He inflates this fake clown. He has a tape of him snoring, and he's just sleeping in the basement. From this point, you don't hear from Truman for about 15-20 minutes of the movie, because Giamatti and some other guy in the control room, they're just eating pizza, they're not really paying attention. Kristoff walks in, and they all kind of,
he got up from bed. He's in like a robe.
Like he just he just had a bad feeling. He just had to go check something.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's just sleeping. He's been here. He's just sleeping. He moved in the basement after Meryl left. And Kristoff just he knows his creation. He looks at the tape and he starts looking at every angle, and he sees a little bit of motion. They zoom in, they enhance, and they see Truman's hand like leaving through a trap door. And from that point on, it's like this complete manhunt in which Kristoff is not trying to keep the illusion up anymore. Every actor is just in the town square looking for Truman with flashlights. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting, another choice that would just make your paranoia even worse and make you want to leave even more,
And off that moment when they send Lewis to go look for Truman, like with the 6-pack in hand and going like he's like speeding to get to the house, because I think they're worried that Truman might have like hurt himself or like killed himself. Like, I think that's kind of a worry, or like he's gone. Like that. I've always gotten that sense when I watch that scene. They're worried about him.
They took away his wife. They're taking away everything. He's probably losing his mind.
Shown a lot of signs, and he goes down. Lewis does, and he's looking around and he's treating it like it's hide and seek or something. And Kristoff's like, keep it light, keep it light. And he eventually finds this trap door, and then Lewis peeks out into the lawn, and then Kristoff's like, cut to the lawn cam, and he's like looking around, and the first time that like a character breaks the fourth wall, truly breaks the fourth wall, he's gone. And then Kristoff's like, cut feed, like cut transmission, and then it just goes to like a blank slate, and
and then it cuts to a
technical difficulty, and then
for the first time in 10,619 days,
and the show is falling apart. And like you said, there's like this manhunt that transpires,
which is a very cool sequence to like see that idyllic world turn into like this dark foreboding, because it's all happening at night for the moment, and that switch at the end is really, really cool. And it's really cool to just to see like all of these people who every time you see them, they're all like smiling to the point of like insanity. Now they're all on a mission.
Yep.
And it's like at this point, like I don't know what they think they're even gonna recover if they did find him. Are they gonna somehow keep
him grounded again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they gonna like medicate him, and like who knows what they would have done?
At that point, they're probably just worried about finding the star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And which is sad to think about. But like They're like, we're gonna pull out all the stops to find Truman. Like he's the true star of the show. We can't lose him.
Yep.
We need him.
And when they do finally find him, he's getting into this. Is it his father's sailboat?
I think it
their
is.
their shared sailboat,
Complete with captain's hat and like a captain's coat. Something you'd see out of like Moby Dick or something.
Yeah.
And then Kristoff is like, cut to we need a hero shot, and he's then like staring off into the unknown.
the mist as like the mist is flying out.
Like perfect sky, so sunny. It's like it has like a perfect hero moment. But then they're like, Kristoff is realizing like, what are we gonna do? Like we need to stop him. He's heading right towards like the end of this dome. Like there's only so much water.
Yeah,
that's at play here.
Yep.
And so Kristoff and Paul Giamatti and everyone in the control room
and producers, because people like
oh my gosh, we're already forgetting his name. I said it right before we started.
Holy Lord.
Filming.
He's a legend.
Philip Baker Hall.
Philip Baker Hall just pops. They're not named, but they just pop in as network executives. Like, okay, what's going on? Our money is now being impacted, so they're another like force without even having much to do in the third act. But Philip Baker Hall is great, and it's always cool to see him pop up. Again, he's probably in it for like 2-3 minutes, but it's just like, whoa, that works.
Another great character actor.
And he works as like that grimy executive worried about his money, you know? And I mean, it really is mainly Kristoff. He decides to put this storm on him. They have this very high-tech weather system. They can change day to night at any time. They can change the weather anytime. And they create this storm centralized only on the boat to try to, what Kristoff says, he's like, oh, he'll get scared, he'll turn around. And when that turns out not to be true, and other people actually do start to get worried for Truman, even in the control room, like, you're going to kill him on live TV. He's like, yeah, he was born on live TV, he can die on live TV. And he just keeps cranking the storm up, and he eventually cranks it up to like the maximum.
The dangerous level.
Yeah.
You know, there's danger ahead.
And the cameras lose sight of Truman. There's cameras on the boat because there's cameras everywhere.
They show him basically like drowning. Yeah. Like he's like getting last like gasps of air from the water. And then you see like a look in Kristoff's eye, and he's like, okay, like we're done.
Yep.
We gotta be done. This will be the thing that turns him around finally. Like he learned his like God teaching
a near-death experience will do it.
Lesson,
yeah, for sure.
And that is like a sort of like a biblical aspect of the story at play. Like this God complex is teaching this guy a lesson on how to follow him and go back to where I want you to be. Yeah. You see the boat, and the boat's pretty much completely destroyed. But he's like hanging off the edge of it, right? Yeah, he's kind of, because the boat kind of tips back up, and he's kind of just like laying there. Like
he's like tangled, and he's tangled in some of the ropes, but those ropes kept him on the boat, you know. But he coughs up the water, and he's alive, and people in the control room are relieved that he's alive. But the damaged boat careens into the end of the dome. You know, the mast goes through this the set. It's like not even drywall. It's like this paper. Yeah. It's like very thin sky looking paper, and it just rips through it, and he sees like there's this little ledge that he can walk on. He walks for a while, and he finds these stairs, and it's like the most legendary shot of the movie. It's one of like the biggest shots of the 90s.
It's one of the more like also emotional like moments.
And it's one of the best endings in a movie. I mean,
right. And before, like, that's when the score really gets great. Like the source music in this movie is brilliant. I think some Philip Glass music and just some brilliant composers being used. And there's the silent moment when a score is playing and Truman's like banging on the set. Yep. And like just he was right. Like he knows that he's right and that it's all fake, and he's coming to this, you know, triumphant realization, even though it's such like
really
sad.
Heartbreaking too. So yeah, because he's weeping. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like you said, he walks up and
confronts destiny, really.
Kristoff.
Yeah. And yeah, that's when Kristoff gets on the intercom, and that's when he really like leans into the God thing. At this point, Truman has never heard anybody speak over the intercom. And the movie like shows it's like a voice is coming through the clouds, like it is God. It's this beautiful, bright, shining light in the clouds, and like birds are chirping. It's and if you didn't know any better, you would think you were speaking to God in that moment. And because he's like, I've watched you every moment since you were born. I've always been there for you. I'm always protected you. Like all this crazy, like you said, God complex stuff. And it's a last ditch effort, right? You know, to try to bring Truman back to reality, which is not reality. It's the exact opposite of reality. And you brought up the line earlier, so you should do the bookend.
Yeah, and so Christoph implores him. He goes like, "You're on television. Like, say whatever you want." And I think he's kind of playing into, kind of like he wants Truman to now be like, "Oh, I'm a star. Like, I want to go back to my roots and I want to stay a star." And I'm assuming like Christoph is trying to get him like, if you go back, like you'll be paid more. Like you'll be actually paid, and like you'll be our television network star the way you are right now, but now you're like fully aware of it.
Well, and, yeah, we'll make you a sequel show.
And he wants him to go back, but then he gives him one chance to say something, and he says his catchphrase, "In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, good night." Does the head dip and then bows to everybody, bows to the world, bows to the world,
billions of people,
and heads out into the darkness. And we don't see Truman again.
No, in fact, the last moment the final shot is just these two guys, security guys, who had been. The movie brilliantly cuts to like a couple different like groups of people. There's this guy in a bathtub just watching it. There's these two old ladies in a retirement home drinking wine together watching it. There's a bar that's watching it together. And it cuts to these people, Sylvia, of course. And there's these two security guards who they're
like parking lot attendants.
Yeah, they give a little funny commentary throughout the movie. They're like, there's a moment in the beginning where they clearly want to see Truman and his wife being intimate. Like, you never see anything.
They just cut away.
It just cuts away. It's so stupid.
They cut away and play some music.
It's just so stupid. They're those type of guys. And the last shot of the movie is just them. Let's see what else is on. Click.
On to the next best thing.
Yep. Which is how humanity would react. It would be a talk for a bit. Truman Show's over. Now what? But that last moment. Because the whole time that Christoph is talking to him, his back is to the camera, his back is to the world, and when he turns, he already has this smile on his face. So right away, he's not staying. You can say whatever you want, man. Like, you're just talking to yourself at this point. It's one of the best facial moments from Carrey. Maybe my favorite facial moment from Carrey ever. The bow is great.
After he says his catchphrase, he kind of breaks character and goes, "Yep," and then because he's like, "Okay, like I've had enough of this, I'm ready to go."
Yep. And right after he does that, you do see Sylvia rushing to put her coat on, and drive to the dome to go pick him up, which is a beautiful thing too. It's cool to see that he's gonna be, because you would have to imagine he's gonna have a tough time
adjusting to society.
He wouldn't be able to go anywhere. He's the most famous person in the world, and that would be a lot for him to deal with. I mean, it's almost like the paranoia and the attention is never going to end, even if he does leave that dome. But at least he's leaving under his own free will with somebody who's going to be there to take care of him. It's a great ending. I think it's one of my favorite endings to any movie that he's been in. I think the ending to Eternal Sunshine is also just hauntingly brilliant. I love that movie. That's a movie we're gonna have to do eventually. But the Truman Show, I mean, it just has so much to say too. It really just like determinism versus free will, like making your own journey out of life, not being forced down any preconceived path by either family or friend or expectation. It's just like Truman wants to go to Fiji and he wants to find this woman that he loves, and he is going to do it. And watching, again, Jim Carrey is just such a great actor and such a cool performer. And I don't know if I don't know what the next Carrey will be, if there ever is one. Some of these people like Robin Williams and like Jim, it's just like God broke the mold there. There's not going to be. That's kind of how I feel about Norm Macdonald and Chris and a lot of the Farley. You know, a lot of these people. It's just like that was a one of one. You know, it's just like I think Carrey really is a one of one. I think Robin really was a one of one, and seeing somebody that talented do something this ambitious and weird, and probably at that point in his career, I mean, I know he could do it. He could do anything he wanted, but I would imagine people in his life like, this is a risky movie for you, man.
It is a risky movie.
Why, just do Dumb and Dumber 2. Why don't you just do Ace Ventura 3? Like, this is, and you know, and then following this up with Man on the Moon. It's just like he kept going down that path, which is super cool. But I love Jim Carrey, and this is just, I think, other than Dumb and Dumber, this is a movie that started that for me.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, this choice to make this movie, you know, comes off of this massive comedy run, you know, and like you said, I'm sure his agents and people that were around him, and I'm sure people outside of Hollywood, like critics or reporters, were like, what are you doing? Like, you're teaming up with this like journeyman auteur director like Peter Weir. This like one of the first times Andrew Niccol wrote a screenplay, and he was his own good director and fascinating storyteller. So it's like, you're really going to do this? I mean, there are comedic elements to this movie, but they're very like dark-seated.
Yeah, like, and they're rooted in the reality of this.
Because Carrey can't really help but be funny at times. You know, he
Those
has
are
some
lines.
of the best timing of all line readings.
Yeah.
Like some of the best timing of any comedic actor and performer. He's so great, and I mean, we haven't even touched on this. He was nominated for an Oscar for this movie.
Yep,
I believe.
And he deserved to be. I mean, it's a great performance. It requires a lot of him in a lot of different arenas.
There's this really famous Oscar moment that just popped up on my algorithm on Twitter. Jim presented an award that same night after he lost the Best Actor, and he is really self-deprecating and he puts himself down, but you can tell he really wanted it.
Oh yeah,
and it really meant a lot to him. I'm sure it meant a lot to him to even be recognized, be nominated, but I haven't looked at who he beat or who beat him. But if I'm right, it might have been the Roberto Benigni year, where that might have been the same year as Norton for
I think
American History X.
I think so.
And so that's kind of a tough pill to swallow. But no, Carrey, he is a legendary actor and someone that's always been important to us. I know Carrey is not for everybody. He has a very particular sense of performance, and he can be very animated, but like Robin Williams, incredibly empathetic.
He was not He was not nominated.
He was not. Okay.
That was the Benigni year, and he won over Hanks for Saving Private Ryan, Ian McKellen for Gods and Monsters, Nick Nolte for Affliction. I haven't seen that. Movie. And then Norton for American History X, which I will always believe that Norton should have 2 Oscars, maybe even 3 by now.
Norton, that was his year.
Oh my gosh. But yeah,
he wasn't.
He was nominated for the Globes.
I wonder if the thing I saw was for the Globes.
Must have been for the Globes.
I think it must have been, because I think he was nominated for an Oscar for, was it Man on the Moon? He was nominated for an Oscar for something.
Yeah,
I believe. I could be wrong. It could just
stuff
be
up.
Something I dreamt of or whatever. But
he's never been nominated for an Academy Award.
I don't know why I thought that. It must have been people were saying he should have been, or there was talk of him being nominated.
He won the Golden Globe for Best Actor for The Truman Show.
And wasn't even nominated.
He won the Golden Globe for Man on the Moon.
Wow.
He's nominated for Eternal Sunshine. Yeah, that's crazy. I really thought.
I don't know why I thought that.
Well, I did too.
Must have just been something.
That is obscene.
Yeah, thinking about, because people that this movie had a couple Oscar noms. I think it was nominated for Best Screenplay. Ed Harris was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And so
I don't know how you don't nominate Carrey.
I don't know how you don't nominate Carrey.
He probably just wasn't there yet in the eyes of these people who are like, oh, he's a comedian. He's not one of us yet. You got to see a few more first, you know?
Unfortunately for him, I was just going to say, unfortunately for him, that implicit bias where, you know, when comedic actors journey
want to cross
drama,
over. Yeah.
I think Hollywood kind of sticks up their nose at them and goes like, let's see you do it a couple times.
Just stay where you're at.
It happened with, you know, Robin Williams in the 80s did a good amount of dramatic work before he was recognized for Dead Poets.
Yep.
That was just a nomination, you know? And so I think Hollywood even today, yeah, and they rarely nominate, these big stars,
In a comedy.
comedic stars, even
No.
comedies. And so
The last one was probably Robert Downey Jr. for Tropic Thunder.
the last big one,
Last
yeah.
huge guy.
Melissa McCarthy for Bridesmaids.
Oh yeah,
it happens every
she's really
once
good
in
in
a
that.
while.
She's so good in that movie.
It's a strange
Yeah.
thing. I'll never really understand it.
There should be a little more of it.
But wow,
Comedic acting is hard.
I can't believe I didn't remember that Jim hasn't even been nominated for an Oscar.
To me, I think Eternal Sunshine is just that's a travesty. That performance is incredible by both him and Kate.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought he got nominated too at one point. Shows how much we know about Jimmy. But yeah, I just, Nathan and I were talking. And I feel like there's still a lot of good stuff for Jim to do, but he's like soft retired and he just wants to do Sonic the Hedgehog, get that paycheck, and then leave. He doesn't seem very interested in doing big roles anymore. He seems very disillusioned with Hollywood, very disillusioned with people in Hollywood. I know he was very disappointed after the Will Smith thing. He has said a lot of things about a lot of facets of Hollywood the last few years where it's just like, oh, he knows probably too much. He's probably seen too much, and he's just like, I've made my money. I'm good. Let me know about Sonic 4 and 5, and I'll pop up. Which is sad. I hope that Jim, one, does something, again, worthy of attention, because he's one of our better performers, and I would hate to see him just be Gerald Robotnik until he passes away. That would break my heart.
A shame.
But we will be doing more Jim Carrey episodes. I mean, Dumb and Dumber is really big for us. The comedies are hard to pot about, like we've talked about.
Dumb and Dumber, though, we
will do Dumb and Dumber. I think Man on the Moon could be great. We will do Cable Guy.
Eternal Sunshine.
Cable Guy is probably, other than Dumb and Dumber and this, the one I've seen the most. I've watched Cable Guy so much. But yeah, I love Eternal Sunshine. I Love You, Philip Morris is really good. Have you seen that?
I've never seen it.
Him and Ewan they're so good in that movie. He's made so much cool work, and he's like a legend in the scene. Hopefully we get a couple more cool things out of him. But if not, if he really is done, he did some really cool stuff. And The Truman Show is very indicative of what kind of performer, what kind of comedian, and what kind of just like presence he is, Anything else you want to say about Carrey or The Truman Show?
One last thing that really impressed me on the rewatch that doesn't have to be its own thing. It'll just go into the outro. But Peter Weir's direction of this movie is incredible. We haven't really touched on it. Touch on bits and pieces. This whole movie is shot like a multicam, or finding such creative ways to shoot Truman and
through like a fisheye lens,
but like a button cam.
The pencil
the
sharpener.
car radio, the pencil sharpener. Yep. And it's also like, it's purposefully shoddily edited to where like Peter Weir is doing a really great job capturing what reality TV will and did look like at the time, where you're getting this kind of odd, non-intricate editing where it's like not very graceful. You're cutting back to the different cams, or you're just capturing these awkward moments that don't need to be captured in any way. But there's also like really grand shots of like Truman in the boat and him in the town square.
Yep.
And there are some so every little piece of filmmaking, especially when it comes to cinematography, it seems like it was so well planned.
Very intentional. I was just going to say very intentional. Very intentional. And everything.
So whenever we're in Truman's world in that town, you think to yourself, oh, so the world is seeing it like we are. Yeah. It's not like we're getting a different view of Truman. This is how the world is viewing Truman through.
We are watching The Truman Show with everybody else.
And that's such impressive filmmaking.
Yeah.
And it probably took so much patience.
Very voyeuristic and very, a lot of patience, a lot of planning. And like you said, very indicative of reality TV and like just that sporadic, quick cut to, very little intentional cutting in terms of just like, oh, he is now in, you would imagine Christoph, he is now in the town square, cut to the town square. Yes. He is now walking into the office.
Crane shot. Yep. Like you feel the crane shot, or like a hidden shot.
Just boom, boom, boom.
And it's just such impressive filmmaking from Weir, and it's his best movie. I've been as I've gotten older, I've been trying to go into these filmographies, and he has a lot that I have still haven't
I
seen,
know, dude. Me too.
unfortunately.
I've
But
seen him out.
and maybe we'll pod more about.
Yeah,
I'd love to do a Master and Commander one day. I think I told you about this movie Fearless with Jeff Bridges.
Yeah,
That's an incredible movie.
and I love Jeff.
And so, Weir's a really cool filmmaker and one that took a lot of chances on some material, and this is his masterpiece.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to give him a shout out.
He's the best.
He retired like 15, 20 years ago, and he is an interesting voice in the world of filmmaking. And Jim took a chance on working with this auteur, and obviously the studio took a chance on putting Jim in this drama, and the rest is history. This is
Yep.
an incredibly popular movie.
Yeah.
And even though it is so commercial, it does have such great intentionality in the filmmaking
Yeah.
and in the structure of characters and the screenwriting, etc.
Yeah. And every performance feels like real and lived in. Even like I don't like Laura Linney's character is not my favorite in this, but like you feel her struggle at the end of her arc too. It's just like every character feels very lived in and breathed in, and they're not all good people, but like they feel like people, and I think that's when you're sharing scenes with somebody like Jim Carrey and you got somebody like Peter Weir behind the camera, I bet when you got to level up, It's just Carrey, he's an intense performer, and when it's just you and him and a camera, I guarantee you, people's nerves and it's either you rise to the occasion or you don't. And every character actor and every ancillary piece of this movie really works. Even like Truman's dad, who has like 2 lines, is like, oh, that works. Even if it feels kind of hokey, it's like, this is reality TV. It should feel a little hokey. This is, it really is. I would love to know more about the pre-production of this movie, and
I
just
kind of want to go back and
just like sitting in like
the extras and stuff.
writing room and just like, okay, what are we doing once Truman I would love to know more about how they plotted and planned some of this stuff out, and what some of the earlier drafts look like too, because as a screenplay, this is tight. And this is really impressive. This is one of the screenplays I've downloaded, and I need to reread it. It moves at such a cool pace, just like the movie does, clearly. But yeah, dude, Truman Show is great. Jim Carrey is great. If you just know Jim because of broad comedy, because I guarantee there are, even though this is a wildly popular movie, I know there are a ton of people, because I met them in college. They never saw this. They never saw Man on the Moon. They never even heard of Eternal Sunshine. I'm like, okay, those are tragedies, guys. You need to come over. We're remedying this. A lot of people still just know him as Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, Liar Liar,
The Mask.
The Mask.
Yeah.
Jim has a lot to offer, and he has a lot of cool stuff he did. So if you haven't seen The Truman Show, if you are Jim Carrey curious, there's a lot more out there, and hopefully we get some more in the next coming years. But The Truman Show is awesome, and please give it a go if you haven't. All right. Thank you.